Everything is inspired by the teachings of His Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the founder and charge of the International Society of Teachers. Om Adivantana Sakanaya Sakya Chaksarum Meditam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Namovistam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Nupavaramaya Vedati Suhakaradikam. We decided to call our talk today a special favor. Every one of us has dreams and goals in our heart, promises that we're standing on. Maybe we're hoping our child can turn his life around. We can get healthy again so we can serve better in our temple or church family, start a business so we can generate funds for the mission, get out of debt. Deep down inside, we know that God has spoken to us, planted the seed of a God-centered dream and birthed it on the inside. But because it seems to be taking too long, or getting opposition that we hadn't anticipated, it's easy to start getting a little negative and start to think that, oh, maybe it's not going to happen after all. God is impartial. Why should He give me special favor? Am I really special? Can I ask God for things? And this is what the Bhagavad Gita says. What Krishna says, every living being is proceeding from me, and I am therefore the seed-giving Father of all living beings. I view everyone equally. I treat everyone equally. So considering that, one can think, well, is it right for me then to ask God for special favors, things unique to my talents and abilities? Krishna says, I am equal to everyone. I don't envy anyone, nor is anyone especially dear to me. So that establishes impartiality. But here's the secret. He goes on to say that although I'm impartial, I don't show any special favors to anybody, just like any father tries to treat all of his children equally. But he goes on to say, but whoever renders service to me in the devotion is a friend, is in me, and I'm also a friend to him. What we see here is that those who are especially compliant, especially sensitive, eager, and enthusiastic to get into the middle of what God wants for their lives, God is not any longer a father figure to them. But God Himself declares to those people, I'm a friend. Again, a father may have 10 kids and he's equally disposed. He doesn't love any one more or less than another. But there's one that's always disobedient. There's one that's neutral. And there's one that's completely in harmony with what the father wants. He doesn't violate his impartiality by treating with special consideration the one that's totally lined up with him. For those who are pure devotees, God is a living being of personality, and there are three functions of personhood: thinking, feeling, and willing. So those parts and parcels of the Lord who think like God, will like God, and feel like God, they're very special to the Lord. They're not just in the general category. For those who are purely devoted to the Lord, He makes a special promise to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. Kamti apradidamihi nami bhakti vinasati. For those who are dedicated to me, meditating upon my form, and aspiring to serve me cent per cent, for them, they never perish. God is promising to personally maintain His devotee. And those who are advanced devotees of the Lord, they never doubt the words of the Lord. Here's a pastime that we read about in the Srimad Bhagavatam. When we talk about heaven, we're not talking about the spiritual world. We have a different word for the spiritual world. Heaven is just a better place in this material world. The higher planets called Swarloka, which are inhabited by the demigods. And Indra is the king of heaven. And he has these beautiful gardens called Indrapuri, in which there is a tree doesn't exist on the earthly planet. It's called a parijata tree. We know it as the night jasmine, extremely fragrant. It's the only flower that once it's fallen to the ground, you can pick it up and offer it in the puja ceremony. Any other flower, once it's fallen to the ground, is considered unclean. But this particular parijata flower, you can offer to the deity even after it's fallen to the ground. Narada Muni, who sometimes He's a pure devotee, but he also is known to stir the pot to bring about some interesting situations. He can travel as he wills throughout all the material and spiritual worlds. So after a visit to Indra, he came to the earth planet having gotten from Indra a single parijata flower. So he visited Krishna in the city of Dwarka, and he gave this flower to one of Krishna's wives called Satyabhama. She smelled the flower, she looked at it, she was so taken with it. She said, "Where did you get this?" "I got it on the heavenly planets, in the gardens of King Indra." And Narada Muni said, "Why don't you tell Krishna, your husband, to get you one of these flowers?" There were no such on earth at that time. Satyabhama goes and she says to Krishna, "It would be really nice to have a tree from which we get unlimited numbers of these flowers." Krishna says, "Okay," calls his bird carrier Garuda. They mount up and they go to the heavenly planets. In the meantime, Narada Muni has scooted back up to the heavenly planet. He says, Indra, I want to give you a heads up. Krishna's headed here to steal one of your trees." Narada playing both sides against the middle here. So Krishna shows up and he takes the part. He doesn't exactly ask Indra permission, because Indra's one of hundreds of millions of demigods who are in their positions because they've been appointed such as Krishna. And so the big boss, the CEO, doesn't have to ask the supervisor if he's going to go on the factory floor and take something, because everything belongs to him anyway. So Krishna came, he got the parijata flower, he mounted his bird carrier Garuda, and he's ready to take off back to Earth when Indra shows up on his elephant Aryabhata with all of the other demigods as well. And he goes, "Wait a minute, that's my parijata, you can't take it." And so there unfolded a huge battle between just Krishna, and don't forget he's got Satyabhama beside him, and the Satyabhama beside him riding on the back of Garuda, holding a parijata flower somewhere, stowed in a rumble seat or something. He manages to fight all the demigods to a standstill. And they surrender to him and they apologize. After all, you're the owner of everything, and we shouldn't actually claim separate proprietorship. So everything worked out really well. But it was interesting that Satyabhama had asked Krishna for something material, something individual, and Krishna didn't even hesitate to move virtually heaven and earth in order to get Satyabhama what she wanted, thus proving his promise that he has special favor for those who are especially devoted to him. Now, sometimes in our own lives, we have a dream, something that we want to achieve or accomplish, but it's taking too long. It's proving too difficult. So your mind is starting to think, game over. Your emotions are feeling, no way. Circumstances are too difficult. The obstacles are too formidable. At this point, a lot of people get discouraged. They throw in the towel and they give up too soon. And they fail to move ahead to see God's best for their life. But here's our message. Just because you don't see anything happening doesn't mean that God is not working behind the scenes. We have to do our little tiny part, which is really not asking too much, and just trust Him. Even though it looks impossible, we need not to let our minds, nor our emotions, nor other people talk us out of our God-centered dream. We need to know that in due season, not in our time, but in His time, at the right time, it will come to pass. Krishna is faithful to His devotees. He's faithful yesterday, He's faithful today, and He's faithful tomorrow. It may not happen how we expect it or when we expect it. Those of you who are parents or children who have had parents say to you, "I want this bicycle, I want this PlayStation." And the parents might have responded to you, "Not yet." Did you get all bent out of shape? Did you throw a tantrum? Did you beat your head on the floor? If you did, you shouldn't have, because they didn't say no, they just said, "Not yet." Not yet actually is a sign for celebration, for encouragement, because when they say not yet, it means you're going to get it you're just not going to get it. When you want it, you're going to get it when your parents think it's the best time to give it to you, when it'll do the most good. Even if it doesn't happen as we expected on our timetable, the trick is not to get disappointed. Krishna is saying to you, in your moments when doubt is knocking at the door, I will not fail you. Everything's going to work out. I am God in complete control. Yes, I saw the medical report. Yes, I saw your balance sheet. Yes, I know the people who are coming against you. And I also know how big and seemingly insurmountable your dreams are. Now, read my lips. I will not fail you. I will always make a way for my devotees, even when it looks like in the natural there is no way. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. He will vindicate your wrongs. He will pay you back for unfair situations. He will fulfill the innermost desires of your heart. One more story from the Mahabharata. There was going to be a big war between the bad guys headed by Duryodhana and the good guys headed by Arjuna. And they both wanted Krishna's help in the upcoming war. So they arrived in Dwarka city and they went into the bedchamber of Krishna while Krishna was feigning sleep. Duryodhana arrived first and he sat impatiently waiting for Krishna to wake up, more or less at the head of Krishna. Arjuna arrived later and he placed himself on a lower position than Krishna, kneeling on the floor. Krishna woke up, and again, he promises impartiality. Even though he's a miscreant, still Duryodhana is still son of the same God that Arjuna, the righteous devotee, is son of. But Krishna arrives at a nice solution. They both want something. So for Duryodhana, the materialist, the evil-minded son, he gives him a whole division of soldiers from Dwarka city. Chariots, elephants, infantry, and cavalry. 220,000 soldiers. He lets Duryodhana choose those. And Duryodhana is thinking, now I have these soldiers, I'm unconquerable. Arjuna is asked what he wants. He says, I'll just take you, Krishna. I'll just take you. And Krishna says, okay, but in the interest of fairness, I can't fight, because he's God, and he could defeat the whole party single-handedly with the tip of his finger. So he said, in all fairness, also participate on your side, but as a non-combatant. I won't take up any weapons or fight. I'll just drive your chariot, Arjuna. At this point, everything's like even-handed and impartial. You agree? Duryodhana got what he wanted, and he's happy. Arjuna got what he wanted, and he's happy too. Fast forward, the war took 18 days, and about the 8th day of the battle, the general on the other side, Bhisma, who was a pure devotee of Krishna, but I won't get into the whole story, but he was fighting on the side of the bad guys. It was an unfortunate circumstance, but his heart was really in favor of the Pandavas, and he was a devotee of Krishna. Bhisma was being chided by Duryodhana. Bhisma, you have too much affection for Krishna and Pandavas. You're not fighting hard enough. You need to fight harder. You're too soft. And then Bhisma was provoked to say that either I will kill Arjuna tomorrow on the battlefield, or Krishna will have to pick up a weapon. One or the other of these two things will happen. Either I will kill Arjuna, or in order to keep Arjuna, his devotee, alive, Krishna will have to pick up a weapon and break his promise. Break his promise not to take up a weapon. Bhisma, who's so powerful he killed 10,000 soldiers in a single day, he's focused on Arjuna. He breaks the wheels of Arjuna's chariot. He cuts the reins to his horses. He breaks the bowstring. And Arjuna is finally helpless, without any resources. And Bhima is rushing towards Arjuna in order to give him the last final blow. At which point, does Krishna keep his word? God is famous for keeping his word, right? Sun rises because of the will of God. The sun sets because of the will of God. The seasons change because of the will of God. Gravity works because of the will of God. Snow falls and after Thanksgiving Day by the will of God. If there's anything that can be depended upon, it's the will of God. Every morning we count on the sun rising, and that only happens because God wills it so. So is there anything more stable, more dependable than the will of God? Biesma is basically saying what God has promised, if he wants to save his devotee, he's going to have to break his promise. Well, what happens? Krishna, remember, Biesma is a devotee and Arjuna is a devotee. Krishna broke his promise not to take up a weapon. God pretty much lost his cool. He got beside himself. He could not stand the fact that his devotee was about to be mortally wounded. And he broke his promise. That promise that he makes to protect his devotees trumps his own promises. He picked up a chariot wheel and he rushed towards Biesma. And Biesma was like, wow, how great is God? Everything is going on because of his will. I am actually seeing that to protect his devotee, he will break his will. I have said that either Arjuna will be killed or Krishna will pick up his weapon. That was my promise, and Krishna supported me. Krishna saved my face by picking up the wheel. That fulfilled my promise. And why did he pick up the wheel, breaking his own promise? Because his greater promise, his greatest promise, is that my devotee will never perish. But normally, in the material world, when we're all by ourselves, we feel alone, we feel fearful, we feel kind of like an orphan with no one to look out for ourselves. But such is not the case with devotees. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Pure, fully surrendered devotees never ever feel themselves alone. They never ever feel themselves helpless. They know that watching over me is Krishna. I have a firm conviction that Krishna will protect me. I'm engaged 10% in Krishna's service, so Krishna will protect me. Prabhupada said, if you work in any ordinary business or company, small business or international corporation, they will give you protection. They'll give you medical, they'll give you dental, they'll give you unemployment. They'll call up and ask after your health and welfare, and they'll send you get well cards. So don't you think that if you work for God, that you'll get ultimate, omnipotent, almighty protection? You won't be in the hands of Allstate, you'll be in the hands of Almighty. But because we don't have faith in God, and we don't have faith in His promise, we're looking for protection with our Fannie Mae and our 401, we're looking for protection for the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, we're looking for protection for the stock market or the military, all because we don't have faith that what the Almighty Lord has promised, He will fulfill. Krishna says, don't doubt, don't have any hesitation, just surrender to me. I will protect you from all sinful reactions. Your society won't protect you from everything. Your friends won't protect you from everything. Your family won't protect you from everything. But as your supreme almighty Father, creator of millions and millions of universes, God is more than capable of fulfilling His promise. In fact, only Krishna, or God, is the one who's capable of giving you protection. Therefore, the last words and the most important words of the Bhagavad Gita, in the 18th chapter, Krishna tells Arjuna, Sarva dharman parijanya Ma mekam saranam ham tam sarva mokshasam. Just surrender unto me, giving up all other concocted forms of protection, and you will be protected. You will never be disappointed. In fact, this is the only protection that's available to us. Prabhupada wrote these words. People are so maddened that they think their friends, relatives, countrymen, all fallible themselves, will give them protection. They don't see that everything will be finished, annihilated. So many friends, so many relatives, father, mother, uncle, cousins, teachers, everybody's going to die. Everyone will die. So how are those who are going to die going to be able to give others ultimate protection? And when we talk about protection, we're only thinking of the body without considering the eternal soul that inhabits the body. How we can protect the soul, that we're unaware of. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We're thinking how to protect the body, and yet the body's death, demise, is inevitable. It is said time and tide, wait for no man. Where is protection in this world? Even if you have a nice family, a nice house, you live in a nice country, you have a nice wife, you have nice children, none of those are going to give you protection at the time of death. And he gives the example. I don't know if any people have been to any air shows. I think they have one up at Ogden on the Air Force Base once a year. It's a beautiful, coordinated, syncopated flying display where all the jets, they fly. They might only be 6 inches wing to wing, but they're so well trained and so rehearsed that they fly almost as if they're one. Almost as if the 6 or 8 or 10 jets are only on one sort of organic hull. However, when one of those jets happens to get into engine trouble, we see that that's not in fact the case. There is nothing that those other jets can do to help out that one jet who's having engine trouble. None of the others can give that one protection. He has to fly on his own strength. So in this material world, we can't rely on other fallible soldiers, others who are rushing into the mouths of death to give us protection. We have to understand God and seek His ultimate protection. And will He give it? Yes. He says, I am Suridam Sarvabhutanam. I am well-wishing friend of all living beings. We have many good, well-minded, well-intentioned people, and yet they're eating millions and millions of turkeys. So that's not protection. That's not full protection. That's imperfect protection. That you will protect human beings like you, but you will not protect God's other children in the forms of animals. What kind of protection is that? That's faulty. When God offers protection, He intends all living beings to get His shelter, because He is the Suridam Sarvabhuta, the friend not just of a certain sect or of a certain race or of a certain gender or even a certain species. He is Suridam Sarvabhutanam. He's friend of all living beings. Therefore He says, thou shalt not kill. Thank you very much. Here's another story, contemporary story relatively. In September of 2008, on a farm property in Knoxville, Virginia, a father of 7 children named Vander Wood, he was in the yard with his youngest son, Josie, who had Down syndrome. Now, Josie accidentally fell into a forgotten, deep, broken septic tank that was full of water. Without hesitation, and knowing the danger, the father immediately jumped into that dark 8-foot-high hole. He realized he could not simultaneously keep his head above water and his son's head above water at the same time. So that father, out of paternal love and wanting to give paternal protection to his son, kept himself beneath the surface and used his body to hoist his son onto his shoulders, holding him above the waterline. When rescuers arrived, they found the young boy safe, breathing, held up by his father. But his father, however, had used his last breath to ensure his son's survival, and tragically himself passed away in the tank. So this act, as you can see, perfectly exemplifies the unconditional, self-sacrificing love and protection that every father has for their child. from where that sense of paternal sacrifice and protection comes, unless it is there originally in the absolute truth from which everything comes. So understanding that that same well-wishing, benevolent, absolute truth is my Father, our attitude should be, I know, Lord, that you will never fail me or let me down. Things may not look good now, but I believe one day I'll look back and understand how you used this situation to my advantage. When we say faith, it's all about trusting. Knowing deep down that Krishna or God has our very, very best interests at heart. Too many people, I think you'll agree with me, if they don't accomplish what they want done on their timetable, in their way, they get all down and depressed. They get stuck and consequently never see those promises come to pass. Pure devotees of the Lord, on the other hand, don't listen to the thoughts of discouragement, because they know that the Lord will defeat their enemies. They know that He will cause them to overcome their obstacles. They know that He will rescue them from the danger, because they know that what God says is true yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And it's not God who lies, it's men who will mislead you. It's men who lie to you. One devotee declared, I'm going to believe what Krishna says in spite of how I feel, in spite of what my mind is telling me, in spite of what logic is saying. Lord, I'm going to keep acting, walking, talking, thinking, and believing what you say. I'm not going to be moved by what I see, nor discouraged by what I don't see, or give up because it's taking a long time. Lord, you are 100% reliable, 100% of the time. Krishna, God, always has the final say. Our message today is, if you're doubtful, if you're worried or upset, come back to that place of peace. Quit living stressed out, wondering if it's going to happen. God has you in the palm of His hand. He has not failed you in the past, and He's not about to start now. Dare to trust Him. He will give you strength for every battle. He will give you wisdom for every decision. He will give you peace in the midst of the storm. Our message tonight is, put every negative thought aside. Shake off every disappointment, knowing that if God is for you, who dare be against you? If Krishna is saying yes, it doesn't matter who else is saying no, because Krishna or God has the final say. He will stand by His devotees through thick and thin, break His own promises to keep His devotees safe, like He did with Arjuna. He will bring His devotees unscathed out of the fire of battle, and He will crown their efforts with victory. Now, why don't you listen to Him? He's saying to you tonight, surrender fully, surrender wholeheartedly, surrender enthusiastically to me. Have no fear, no hesitation. If you do this, Krishna will protect you in this life and in the next life. He'll take you back to home, back to Godhead. Thank you for your kind attention, and if any of that resonated with you, you're welcome to raise your arms and we can say it together, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,